Well, if that wasn't enough, we have one more superstar for you today. He's one of the biggest stars in Latin America with his travel vlogs watched by an incredible 14 million subscribers. He has flown all the way from Mexico to be here. What a great honor it is to welcome Luisito Comunica. And please join me in welcoming our moderator for this session. Who better than the boss of Condé Nast Traveler Middle East, Rhea Saran.
So Luisito, welcome to Dubai.
Hi, how are you guys? It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited. I truly am, yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to point out is that you just had a birthday recently. Was it last week here?
Yeah, it was last week.
So feliz cumpleaños, which might be the only Spanish I speak today.
Thank you very much. It was a blast to celebrate my birthday in Dubai, you know. It's a great city to do it, yeah.
What did you get up to?
I mean, I went to Ferrari World and I screamed like a little kid and it was a fun time, yeah.
Cool. So Luisito, we've just heard that you have obviously, I think it's 24 million people following you on different platforms as well as 14 million subscribers on YouTube. How do you get there? What starts it all off?
I mean, I think it's all, I think every YouTuber can tell you this is a combination of effort, you know, of recording yourself doing some fun things, interesting things, and yeah, overall experience.
But what was it that pushed you specifically in this direction?
Okay, that's a great question. Well, I mean, obviously, nobody knows my videos here. My videos are in Spanish. So I might do a little introduction of what I do. So, hey guys, I'm Luisito. I am from Mexico. And I like to think more than a vlogger. I am more of a documentarist. So what I do is that I travel all around the world. Like, that's my thing. That's what I like to do. And I document specific things. For example, the street food. How is the public transportation in, for example, in Dubai, I was really impressed with the public transportation. How is the society overall? I try to interact with the locals. I try to do some interviews with the locals. So that's pretty much what I do. Like I travel around the world and I document specific things that could be interesting to my audience. Some videos go really viral, some don't. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do. So I think that's what makes my channel special and what makes it makes people want to follow it, because it gives you a really realistic taste of the whole world, you know? Like maybe you cannot travel as often, maybe you have the curiosity of, hey, is it true that Chinese people eat dogs or is it just a myth, right? So there's a video that Luisito did about that, right? And I explained the whole thing and I'm like, hey, dudes, that's just a myth. I mean, so this is the real street food. So I think that's the reason of the success of my channel.
And you just said that you vlog mostly in Spanish. How do you feel that affects your reach? You know, because clearly you travel the world, but obviously all of your content is in Spanish, and you don't subtitle it either, do you?
I mean, there's this new option that YouTube offers where your followers can actually put subtitles in your videos for you. So I mean, I guess that saves you a lot of time. Not all the time the subtitles are perfect. But it's better, I think, than to letting the platform do it. Because when you let the platform do the subtitles for you, it's just like a little robot hearing things and sort of guessing what it says in another language. So you get a very systematic translation, you know? And as soon as you know it, hi, how are you turns into I like fries. I don't know, you know? These sort of things happen. And when real people do it, even if they don't comprehend the language fully, it gives you a more true side of what you're saying. So that's what I am doing right now. And I don't know, let's hope it works. This just started, so let's hope it works.
And would you ever consider, because obviously you are bilingual, would you ever consider doing content in another language, or do you feel like to be true to what you're doing?
I mean, I think that making content in English, and in any other language, it's just not the language. I think because it's also the sense of humor, the way you express yourself, you know, and that's all part of gaining an audience. I'm sure that, well, right now, if I try to do some content in English, I don't know if English natives that speak since they are little kids would like maybe my accent, my sense of humor. I really don't know the context. So yeah, right now I wouldn't be into that, but maybe in some years, you never know.
And so you said that some of your work goes viral. Do you remember what your first piece was that went viral? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know about the first video that went viral because my growth on social media has been very. It's not like one day I made a video and boom, 20 million people watched it. It's been more like a constant growth, you know? So if you ask me about my first viral video, for me, it was viral and it got like 80,000 views, right? And I was excited. I was like, wow, I just made $8. That's crazy, you know? I got so excited, and yeah, it was crazy. But then, as you start growing your channel, you sort of always expect the most and the most, right? So now, if I get 80,000 views, I'm like, wow. I mean, well, it doesn't happen, but it would be really weird, you know. So the longer your channel grows, I think you're always looking for more and more and more. But I don't really recall like a really viral from 0 to 20 million videos. It has always been like a constant growth, you know? And I think that's special because I like to think that my audience has been very loyal all the time, and I sort of have a really cool communication with them. And I think that's part of it, yeah.
Speaking of communication, we heard Roman earlier saying that obviously when he, at some point when he started doing stuff that wasn't pranks, he got kind of a backlash. And so have you found that people feed back to you about more of what they want to see? And have you used that to change the way you do videos?
Yeah, of course. So when I mean, I've not always done this type of content. I've been a content creator for, it's been maybe 6 years now. So of course I've changed all my content. I started doing like really different things than what I'm doing today. So yeah, it did happen when I started changing my genre. That some people gets upset, right? And they're like, hey, how come you don't do videos like before, you know? And to me, it also happens that, so right now I try to keep my content really clean, like not say bad words, try to really take care of the subjects that I'm dealing with, because the bigger audience you get, the more, how do you say it? The more you put yourself more at risk in offending somebody, because you sometimes don't notice that really, literally millions of people are watching you every day. So of course you have to take care of what you say and how you say it. And if you want to make a statement, you have to be really neutral with your words and everything. So some followers that I have, that they are really they have been following me for 4 or 5 years, they sometimes write to me and say like, hey, Luisito, this isn't you. I mean, I used to know you before, and you used to say bad words and everything, and when you felt something, you just said it right away. And I mean, I'm always like, dude, I mean, but we used to be 20,000, now we're like 14 million. I mean, you have to be really careful with what you say, and I think that some YouTubers have been the live evidence of this, that they record themselves doing something that is not appropriate, and then you're like, well, yeah, what did you expect? You have 10 million followers. Of course somebody's gonna get offended, so you sort of get the hang of it, you know?
So it's interesting because as a brand, for instance, like with Condé Nast Traveler, we're increasingly doing a lot more video. But for instance, when I'm on video, I need to some degree, keep in mind my brand, and it's not just about me. Whereas here, it's very much Luisito who's out there. You've talked about obviously not using bad language as one of your restrictions, but now as a brand yourself, how do you sort of see that? Because you've gone from being just an individual to being a brand. What's that like?
Yeah, of course. That's a great question. Well, you sort of get the hang, like I was saying before, that like a lot of people is watching what you do, and a lot of the things that you say can get taken out of context. You even get to realize that something as that could be insignificant to anybody else, like posting a tweet. Like posting a tweet, that's the cover of your local newspaper, you know? Like, that's how much it can grow, you know? And I've also noticed that when something happens to you, like, it's not like it happened to anybody, you know? So you sort of have to get the hang of it and be really careful with your words and with what you do. For example, it happened to me like, I think 3 months ago, something like that, that I got stuck in a country in Bangladesh. They didn't let me in the country, and it was a whole mess. So, I mean, of course, I wanted to keep my audience aware of this situation and whatever. And I didn't realize that it was like all over the newspapers, and like my mom's friends were writing to me like, are you okay? I just saw it in a gossips magazine that you are in jail. And I'm like, no, I'm not in jail. I'm just stuck in a foreign weird country. And these sort of things happen, and you realize that, well, you have to be really careful with what you say and how you say it, because of course somebody's gonna be watching you, and of course, I don't know, maybe 4 people in that country are gonna find out, and they're gonna be really aware of what you say about their country. So, I mean, yeah, I think like taking care of your words and what you say overall is something that you get the hang of.
Okay, I think you've opened up that can of worms, and I'm pretty sure everyone's wondering, what did you do in Bangladesh?
I mean, nothing really, but I just didn't inform myself before going to the country. So it was as simple as, I mean, I needed a special permission to go in the country, which I didn't get. So I was just there like stuck in between, like, is he gonna go in or not? And then, I mean, of course they start asking questions and like, why are you here, blah, 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 what do you do? And they, of course, they're like, okay, so this guy, I mean, in his country, he's, so like people know who he is and whatever. Well, long story short, they didn't let me in. So I had to bounce to another country, but nothing bad happened. And I mean, overall, it was a fun experience. I mean, being stuck in an airport for 2 days, it's a weird experience, let me tell you. And yeah, it's all about, it's all the traveling life, you know, those things happen.
And just, this is something that Roman also touched upon, but sort of privacy, because you said obviously something that you do now gets published in your local paper.
Yeah.
And you said that sometimes you told me that sometimes you don't post an Insta story immediately just so that people don't know exactly where you are, because it's practically like a geolocator.
Of course, yeah.
And do you get that a lot now with people just turning up in places?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess everybody that is in social media knows about this. Like, when you post an Instagram story or whatever, you try to do it like not in real time, because people are gonna show up. And I mean, it's not that it's a bad thing, but it can be sort of uncomfortable, you know? It happens to me that since I'm traveling a lot, I deal with like just being a regular person anywhere, right? Because if I'm in China, if I'm in Japan, if I'm here, like nobody knows who I am. But then I go to Mexico and visit my family, and I'm like, whoa, I mean, like I cannot really go to the streets because it's an uncomfortable time, you know? So, I mean, I wouldn't say that it gets to the point where it's like really hard to deal with because I'm not in my country as much. But when I am there, I always get impressed, you know? Like as soon as I walk in the airport, like the police officers are like, "Oh, you're the YouTube guy, yeah." And they pop their phones out, and you're like, "Oh, this is unusual. This hadn't happened in a month." So yeah, those things happen.
So now that you're doing a lot more travel content and you're traveling the world and finding unique stories, documenting it, there are a lot of travel magazines out there, travel video presenters, travel vloggers. How do you keep your content unique? Because there's so much information out there now, especially in the travel space.
I mean, that's I don't even know. I mean, that's crazy. I like to think that my content is more than traveling content. It's more like me analyzing the world. Because for me, when I read a traveling blog or whatever, most of the times it's like, okay, so if you go to this city, you should visit this place, and this is cheap, this is expensive, and you can stay in this hotel, this other hotel. My content is more like going to places and trying to see the realness in that place, you know? And also, I like to think that I make it entertaining, you know, making funny content, comments, I don't know, talking with my audience, saying local jokes that we have in my channel. So I think that's what makes it different, that it's entertaining in a weird internet way.
Can you give us some of these entertaining stories? What are some of your crazy travel stories?
Okay, I have several. So I mean, like the Bangladesh one that I just said, that's a good one. That's a fun one. I mean, another more interesting story I would say is I went like maybe 8 months ago, I went to Venezuela. And I don't know if you guys in this part of the world are aware. I mean, Venezuela is having a rough time right now. I mean, it's interesting to go there, I would say. So yeah, I went there, and let me tell you, it's a different world. Like I remember being in the streets and just popping my phone out to look at the time or whatever, and a lady comes over and she's like, "Put that phone away!" And you're like, "Why?" I was just checking the time. They're gonna see it. They're gonna see you have a phone. Who's gonna see I have a phone? Everybody. I mean, like you have to really take care of yourself. I got robbed and everything, you know. I mean. But overall, it was a great experience where the locals really received me with a lot of joy, and they were really happy to see somebody from another country really really caring about going there and seeing it with his own eyes, you know? Because that's what I said in my videos. I was like, okay, so we read a lot about this place in the news, but I mean, the news, they always exaggerate things, you know? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go, and I don't have the need of overreacting and exaggerating the things and the facts. So I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna document it in my own style. And yeah, let me tell you, I mean, people, my Venezuelan followers were really happy. They really received me with a lot of joy, and I mean, the hotel was full every day. That was kind of uncomfortable, but but I mean, overall, it was a great experience. So I think that's also an interesting traveling story that I have, yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to start throwing it out to the audience because I don't want to monopolize all the questions. I'll carry on. Does anyone have questions yet? Right here? Up front? And one in the back as well.
Hi, Luisito. Nice having you here in Dubai. Did you find anything funny? Is this your first impression? I mean, what are your first impressions of Dubai? And you know, did you find anything funny or quirky or, you know, in your own style when you first landed here and what you've seen so far?
I mean, overall, Dubai is a city that has impressed me, let me tell you. I mean, I've done 10 videos about here already. I'm at the point where I'm like, wow, is my audience gonna be that interested? But I think they are going to be, because it's a really, let me tell you, it's a really unusual place. Like, I remember I was like, okay, I'm gonna go check out the metro system. And then I'm in the machine and they're like, would you like to ride in the VIP metro? And I'm like, what? You have a gold section for the subway? Those things happen? So overall, those details, I find them really interesting. And other thing that has quite sort of impressed me is that I see that you can find things from everywhere. Like, I went to do, like, one of the sections that people like the most about my channel is the supermarket videos, you know? So I go to a supermarket and I'm like, let's see what people buy here and let's see how they do shopping. And wow, like, here you can find things from everywhere. I found some Mexican things that I was like, wow, really? So you really get the hang that you can find anything here. You can, the other day I went to this skiing thing in a mall. So yeah, that has impressed me about Dubai, let me tell you, that you can do anything in the middle of the desert. They had penguins and everything there, I mean. So that was something, yeah.
Also, if anyone has tips for Luisito for good street food in Dubai, please pass them on, because he was asking me about that earlier.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to find street food. I haven't had much luck. I don't know, is street food big here?
Hello.
Yeah.
My name is Shada. I work at Global Village here in Dubai. I don't know if you ever heard of Global Village. Global Village is basically a place where you can visit the world. You can experience everything. We have 27 pavilions that represents more than one country. You can go try the street food. You can get products that are made in these countries, like Mexico, for example. We have
Awesome,
a pavilion.
nice.
And we have an amazing monster stunt show that we have like stunts and yeah, if you want to experience the world, you just come to Global Village.
Awesome, thank you
Yeah,
very
and
much.
it's only for 15 dirhams, you can go there.
Okay, wow. Thank you, that's the best part. Thank you, that's great advice.
My question is, we've heard a lot of talk about making videos viral. And if we liken that like to the music scene and making hits, how do you plan to make something more appealing than something else for it to go viral? Is there a strategy that you have in mind, or is there certain pinpoints that you put in your video to try and get it more viral?
That's a good question, and I think there's no answer for that. Like, sometimes you think that you made an awesome video and you're like, wow, people are really gonna be interested in this. And overall, not so much. And then you make a video that you're like, wow, this is just another video in my channel. I mean, it's obviously good because it's my channel. But I mean, it's not a really different video. And then people really love them. So I really don't know the answer to that. What I do is that I always try to find an interesting place and go, I mean, like, further and further. If you ask me how I see myself in a couple of years, I'm gonna tell you I'll be making videos in space, because, I mean, that's really interesting, you know? And that's like what I would really like to be doing. So in my case, I would think that to make my content go more viral, I would go for like more and more interesting places combined with the right, of course, the right title and the right thumbnail and whatever, and the right tags. I mean, a lot of things to analyze, but you never get too good at it. Like, I think that's the $1 million question right there, yeah. That would be my strategy.
We have another question up front here.
Hi, Luisito. So one of the most pressing issues of today was the new media regulations and laws. I wanted to know what your point of view was on this subject and how it affects you in South America, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna need more context, because I'm gonna be super honest. I don't know. I've heard this question before, and I don't know what happened. Like, can you tell me what's the new regulation? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I mean,
So it's more about regulating social media influencers and making sure that they have a license in order to continue being in the space. So when it comes to advertising and promoting brands, that they're actually announcing that it is not paid advertisement versus authentic content that's their own. So you're in this space, and how do you feel about that? And how much content of yours is branded, and how do you go about dealing with that?
Yeah, well, I don't know here, but at least in Latin America and United States, I think this, the thing that you say about disclosing, well, it has existed since I remember, right? Like, you always have to sort of disclose what you're doing, maybe by making it super obvious, or it's super usual that you sell, for example, to a brand a post on Instagram stories, and you have to put a massive hashtag ad in it, you know, and you're like, oh, this could have been this could have a really good impact, and they're making me put hashtag ad in my face. So I mean, I guess it happens, and I guess it's well, now that you're telling me about it, for me it's not a new thing. It has been going on for a while now. I don't know if something else changed, but I'm quite used to working like that, like disclosing in the description of the videos and in the, and it also depends on which brand is hiring you. If it's an American brand, for sure it will have to be disclosed. If it's more of, for example, what I do a lot, it's more than like paid content. What I do is more collaborating. For example, I collaborate with an airline. So I do a few posts in the airplane, and they're like, yeah, you can fly with us, you know? Those kinds of things. So I don't know in long term how else can it affect, but by what you're telling me, I think this has been going on for a while now. I think.
There's another question back there.
Hi, I'm interested to know about your equipment, because obviously doing travel videos, you've got to get aerial shots and detail shots and things like that. So do you have any tips for camera equipment that you take that you can travel with?
Yeah, of course. That's a great question. I like to think that I have good equipment, not the most professional, because as you are traveling and shooting in the street and whatever, you cannot really carry many things with you, you know? I've seen many bloggers that in their backpacks, they're like, okay, let's do the backpack tag, everybody, and they pull out a drone, and then they pull out a tripod that goes, and I'm like, wow, how do you carry that around? It's crazy, and they blog with a DSLR, and I'm like, wow, I'm a skinny dude. I mean, those things are heavy, you know? But well, me personally, I vlog with it's a Canon camera. It's called the Vixia Mini. I think the name of the camera here, it's Legeria Mini, I think, in this part of the world. It's a vlogging camera, small. That's when I record myself. But when, well, my partner helps me shoot my content, like in this case that I brought him along with me, we shoot with a mirrorless cam. We use a Canon M5, which is a great camera because it's really compact, it's light. You can change the lenses if you need to do more, something that looks, I don't know, maybe the background out of focus and you're focused, and you can do many things with that, or maybe you want a wider angle. So those cameras in particular, the mirrorless cameras that are booming right now, I think they are a great option. Also, I've tried shooting with a Sony A7S, is the name in America. It's also a mirrorless camera that it's really good, but it's light, you know? So that would be my equipment. And if I'm going to a really, a place with great scenarios, and that of course it's legal to fly a drone there, I mean, I've tried many drones. The one that has convinced me the most right now is the Mavic Air. That one is a great one because you can fold it and it's really compact, it's light. I tried shooting with the DJI Spark. It's okay. I mean, it's not the best drone, it's really light, I'll tell you that. But right now, drone-wise, I would go with the Mavic Air. And tripod-wise, I would just say a Gorilla Pod because they're really compact and you can just carry them like on the side of your backpack and they're not as heavy. So I think that would be like my equipment. But yeah, I try to travel light all the time. Yeah, like not the big tripod and whatever.
Do we have more questions? So Luisito, where are we going to see you next? Where should we look for you? Where in the world will Luisito be?
That's always the question. I mean, like, I don't really plan with much time ahead. I'm more like, maybe today I'm like, I would like to go to Argentina next month. So I start looking for my sponsors, and I'm like, hey, who can be the sponsor of the flight? And maybe I can find a free hotel, and maybe, And then I'm like, okay, so what can I visit there? So I plan more like in the moment, but right now I will be traveling through Italy. It's my next mission because I want to document the idea that I have right now is to document, of course, street food in all that area. I mean, they have really interesting things. And if you go to Florence, to Rome, to Venice, whatever, you get a lot of art. So right now I have the idea, the project of making videos about art in general and the lives of the artists, but make them fun, not like a really boring documentary, more saying like, hey, did you know that Michelangelo used to do this in the mornings, and he was sort of a weird guy, I really don't know. I have to do my research, But that's the idea of the videos that I have right now, and I think Italy is a good place to start because there's art everywhere. So that's my next destination. Yeah. Hopefully, by the time those videos are ready, the subtitles are more perfect, and you guys can enjoy them. Yeah.
Fantastic. So if there aren't any more questions, there is, one here.
Okay, so hey Luisito.
Hey.
So how, so how did you start at the beginning with traveling and so on when you didn't have the money and so on? Because now you get sponsored and so on, of course, so it's easier for you now. So how did you start?
I mean, I guess it was sort of easy for me because cool hair, by the way. That's awesome.
I have the same hair, by the way. Yeah. Man bun.
So I think it was kind of easy for me because, as I told you guys earlier, I haven't done traveling content since the beginning. I used to do different videos. So I started doing other types of videos, and I gained a follower base not so small, maybe 500,000 followers, something like that. So that started giving me opportunities to travel because, of course, I was already making some money and I was already getting some sponsorships, like more travels. I'm guessing whoever is a content creator can know about this. Like, for example, they tell you there's a movie premiere happening in Las Vegas. So we would like to bring you along to Las Vegas to watch the movie premiere and talk with the actors of the movie. And you're not gonna get paid, but we're gonna give you a free trip and whatever. So this way you can promote our new movie. So I started taking these opportunities, and then I realized that I didn't have time to make the other types of videos that I was making. So I was like, I'm gonna start doing some vlogs about the places where I am. And that's how eventually my channel grew into that. And then I was like, okay, so I'm not just gonna travel when they offer it to me. Now I'm gonna look for the places to travel, and I'm gonna turn my channel into that. So that was the evolution that my channel took, and that's why I considered that at first it was easy because I already had some followers and the opportunities were already starting to come by their own. So yeah, I mean, overall, it was sort of easy for me.
Okay, so if you want some good shawarma street food, come to me. I know some
awesome.
good places.
Thanks, dude. Thanks.
Do you ever have, obviously now you see you have sponsors that come to you and want to work with you. Do you have any times when you sort of push back and say, no, you don't really fit with my image?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it happens a lot. Yeah, sometimes you are not really into some brand or whatever, or sometimes, like in my case, they offer me trips that I've done many times. So I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to do that again, you know, like maybe let's wait for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I guess that the more followers you get, the more opportunities you have, the more things you get offered. And you sort of have to learn to say no, because at first you say yes to everything. You're like, oh, yes, yes, and everything, yes, yes. I mean, at first I even did collaborations with these sketchy Chinese websites that send you things, you know? But then you start learning and you're like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. My subscribers are getting ripped off because of me. I mean, yeah, so you get good at it, and you have to learn to say no, right? And, well, of course, you also learn that you cannot take care of everything by yourself. So, of course, now I have a management team, which are awesome, by the way, and they sort of advise me, and they're like, I don't know if you should go this way. It's good money, but it's not really good image for you. So that's also really helpful. Like, you have to also learn to trust in other people. I have my management team right now, and yeah, learn to say no overall. That's what I would say, yeah.
Great. Another question right there? Here in the middle.
So, hola Luisito. I just want to ask you, like, when you are in the street and you start to film your things, like what people think that you are doing, like you have any experience like that, like you are in just filming and then the people see you and what's happened, like how do you do that, like?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awkward overall filming on the streets, I guess. But I mean, you get used to it, and I like to think that you get good at it. For example, when you are not as experienced, it's normal to be shy, and you're like, wait, I mean, there's some guy going to be talking here alone. It's gonna be weird, you know. But as the better you get at it, you sort of even take advantage of the situation, right? Like, say you're filming on the street, and then a guy comes over and he's like, what are you doing? So you get him in the video, and you're like, hey, I'm doing a video, you know, whatever. So you sort of get the hang of it. What also happens when you shoot in the streets, and that also depends a lot in what place you are at, and that also has impressed me a lot about Dubai, let me tell you. It has happened to me that I want to make a video in, I'm gonna tell you, I make a video in China, for example, right? So I noticed that people are kind of shy. So if you want to shoot, for example, you are seeing a guy that is selling something on the street, and as soon as you pull out a camera, he's like covering his camera, he's picking up his things, you know? And they get sort of like shy or maybe scared, I don't know. So that happens a lot. In Dubai, it has happened to me, I don't know, you'll tell me if this is normal or I just had good luck, that the street people that are selling things and whatever, they just love being filmed, let me tell you. Like, they're really open, and they're like, my friend, come here, I want to show you this. And they show you, I have 100 types of teas and whatever, and do you want to try them? You can shoot here. I don't know, I guess that maybe people are more used to it here, or they know what you're doing, and in other countries they're more scared. For example, as I told you recently, when I went to Venezuela, it was hard filming there because, I mean, everybody's like, no, you cannot have a camera in the street because you're gonna get robbed like this. And so yeah, it all depends on the place where you're at. And also, it happens to me that when you are shooting in a city, a big city, for example, in Latin America, it can be kind of, like people disturb you a lot. Like, like they're like, you're in the middle of the video and they just get in the shot. Luisito, a photo. And you're like, oh, dude, I'm in the middle of a video, right? And then as soon as you notice, you have a whole group of people waiting for you to stop shooting, right? So those things happen, but you get used to them, and you get good at dealing with these situations, I like to think.
Well, thank you so much, Luisito, for
No,
being
thank
here.
you. This was fun.
We're so
This was
happy to
fun.
have you in Dubai. And again, guys, afterwards, give him your street food advice, please.
Yeah. Thank you,
And-
guys. This was fun, really.
And thanks, everyone from ITP Live for being here today and for having a great session with us. And there'll be another summit very soon in November, so stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you.